What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Hello there, buffer timers. We're here again on a Sunday. We're going to talk about a few Badgeys more and a ton of news that has come out of the end of the writer's strike. Before we start all that, let's go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
My name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
Vanessa, may I call you Al? Because my name is Betty Boops, and you can call me Betty.
And I am, as you can see, Lieutenant Junior Grade Meat Pipe Scott, host of the YouTube channel Opinions No One Cares About.
We care about your opinions, Lieutenant Meat Pipe. All right, so in this post-WGA strike, it seems like the studios are eager to just remind us that some things are still in production. And especially Academy and Section 31, we got a little bit teased by Kurtzman. Academy sounds like what I was thinking originally, that it's probably going to be aimed at the teen to 20-somethings audience. I hope it ends up wowing us the way Prodigy did, even though we're not the intended demographic. So what are you excited about coming out with the Section 31 movie or Academy? Any thoughts?
I mean, I've wanted an Academy show for a while, and it's not exactly what I wanted, but, at least, we're looking at the last season of Disco and weirdly some chatter going around about, like, Lower Decks being canceled, which is weird. So I guess if they've got another show in the pipeline, I'm good with that. Would have also liked to have seen Legacy, though.
Yeah, oddly, like coming out of this, we haven't had a green light on Legacy, but yet, I think it was the production designer, I can't remember his name, that had said something about, oh well, when we go back for Legacy, we're gonna change the sets up just a little bit.
I also heard somewhere, and it could have been a completely unofficial source, that Metalis is no longer attached to Legacy. And so that could be why we're not hearing as much about it, because Metalis likes to go on social media and ruin things.
Interesting. No, I hadn't heard that, but
yeah.
And we got that Disco did some reshoots for season 5. So that the endings would make more sense as a complete finale to the series. And as bad as I thought season 4 was, that ending was that could have been a perfect series ending right there. That just fade out on that end up, that long shot where they come out off the bar. And that would have been enough said. And we know now that Prodigy is headed to Netflix. Will you guys be getting Netflix, or will you keep a Netflix subscription for Prodigy?
Oh, absolutely.
I watched The Circle on Netflix, which is another one of my dirty secrets because it's a stupid reality show. So I already have Netflix for something kind of offbeat, so I'm happy to keep it for something else offbeat. Plus, Prodigy is my favorite Star Trek show.
Woo! Also, I happened to be on Netflix the other day because I had this urge to watch the, I guess you could call it the Pee Wee Herman reboot, or just like the Netflix movie they made.
Yeah.
But it also came with a preview for The Fall of the House of Usher. I've been a Poe fan forever, so I was taking a look at it, and I guess it's going to be a series about some rich, powerful family. Like, okay, why not?
Yeah, I saw Mr. Know-It-All did a video on that yesterday. I haven't watched it, but cool.
Right.
The only thing I haven't seen in any of the promotions is whether season 1 is headed to Netflix of Prodigy. Does anybody know where season 1 is going? We would assume it's probably going with it.
It is. later this year, and then I think season 2 is going to start coming next year. Or I didn't hear that right. I don't know.
I did. I actually did.
Thank you. No.
Do you think Discovery and Lower Decks are the only Paramount Plus Trek shows that we'll get going into 2024? I mean, Prodigy aside, going to Netflix, but I don't think we're gonna see it any other shows. I don't think anything will be ready in time.
I agree. The actors strike is still going. They've,
true.
The people that they're negotiating with have completely pulled out of negotiations. So it's at a standstill at the moment. So I just don't see actors being able to, or union actors being able to do this unless somebody crosses a picket line or something. So unfortunately, Lower Decks and Discovery might be it because they're in the can.
Yeah, that's fair. That's all I had for regular news to discuss. Has anybody else seen anything else this week? There's been a lot of stuff coming out of the Comic-Cons and stuff.
Right. The merch, the Kid Cudi merch.
Oh, yeah. So, all right, going back to that whole thing we talked about last week,
Yep.
I actually played this Fortnite thing. It is not a cash grab in any way. In fact, like, it looks like Kid Cudi spent some money on it. And it's all just a promo for him. It's one of the worst games I've ever played. It's a little side quest game that's not even part of the main Fortnite thing in their creative universe. And it was one of the worst 20 minutes of my life. It's very disjointed. And it just like culminates in his new song, his new big single, which I didn't think was great. It was just this disjointed thing where you collect Delta badges for no apparently good reason other than collecting them. Like, all right, we like collecting stuff. Sounds great. And then one minute I'm on a half pipe, and then the next minute I'm on a hoverboard, and then I'm sailing with my freaking parasol. Go ahead.
So you're like Mary Poppins then, is what you're saying. Like if that's the worst 20 minutes of your entire life in total, pretty great life, you know?
As far as gaming goes, anyway.
Oh,
and as far as
okay.
Trek related stuff and gaming, it's just, it doesn't work on a video game level. It doesn't work on a Trek level. It's just him in a like Strange New World style uniform singing his song, which isn't great in my estimation, but anyway, it's a promo, and it's not a cash grab. You don't even get anything in Fortnite. I guess what we saw last week with that letter jacket is actually real merch that we're going to get.
Ooh.
For whatever that's worth. Now, Vanessa, I wish I'd gotten these screen grabs for you, but you had found some really cool stuff in his upcoming merch collection.
Right. There was some t-shirts, there were some sweatshirts. The sweatshirts, they actually put out like decent DS9 merchandise, which is so not common. And like, that's like the last thing I would expect from a collab. I thought it was just going to, like, it looks like a lot of thought went into it. And the art on the t-shirts is very detailed. So the varsity jacket aside, I was a big fan of what the at least the like sweatshirts and DS9 stuff.
I agree. I thought that was pretty neat. Gonna use that as a good segue. Merchandising. Now, this little guy just came out at Hallmark, and like perfect freaking timing. We're going to do a brand new unboxing of 2 Badgeys. Unfortunately, it's not like Badgey and Goodgy, but it's just like his first original good face, and like his "I'm going to burn your heart in a hot fire" face.
That's adorable.
So there's your good guy, Badgey.
He's going to teach you a lesson.
And I will burn your heart in a fire, Badgey.
I like it because it's like the Trek version of that paperclip guy in Microsoft Word kind of thing. And to imagine that paperclip is evil is great.
And just for
You don't
fun,
have to imagine it. You can just use Microsoft Office.
This guy came out about a month ago, and I have already opened it up and put the battery in. This is Ode to Spot.
Oh.
turn into an unboxing video today, and I guess I should have when I was showing.
You
Badgey
never
stuff.
know what you're gonna
I guess
get
I
when
should
you
have
tune
put
into
my-
buffer time.
Ooh,
He's a good
ah,
cat and a pretty cat.
very good focus on that.
Yeah, this new camera is pretty awesome.
Felis catus. Is your taxonomic nomenclature an endothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature? Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses contribute to your hunting skills and natural defenses. Oh, Spot. The complex levels of behavior you display connote a fairly well-developed cognitive array. And though you are not sentient, Spot, and do not comprehend, I nonetheless consider you a true and valued friend.
This is going to be a good one on my tree this year. And while I've got my in bigger font, I'll put the Badgey that's way too green up.
Nice.
Yeah, these are some
Beautiful.
good collections this year. The ones I couldn't pull the trigger on were there's one from Relics with Scotty when he's having a drink with Picard in that scene. But that was a little bit much. That was like $40.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess we can actually talk about some lower decks now. If you guys want, maybe. Do you think?
I'm down.
Oh, sure.
So I ask this question only because Trek Culture had brought it up. That he thought that the splitting of Badgey into Logic-y versus Badgey, he thought that Sean Ferrick thought that it was a too similar to Data and lore in the end of Picard. Do you think that's true? Do you think it's like a retread of that?
I think it's a trope that we've seen on a bunch of different television shows outside of sci-fi as well as within. This idea that there's a good me and an evil me. I mean, we could be talking about Spock in the goatee. Like, there's lots of different episodes where there, and other shows even, where there's been a good twin and an evil twin, and you have to figure out which is which.
Yeah.
Also, oh, go ahead.
Very minor point here, but the only twist on this one is that you actually saw the evil twin first.
Yeah, like I guess, you know, the enemy within in TOS, you know, you have Riker splitting into two because of the transporter accident.
Yep.
You have in If Wishes Were Horses, you have Bashir or Dax becoming a different Dax and like coming onto Bashir. It's just like a lot of you know, splitting apart and having different personalities. It's a very common thing in Star Trek.
Yeah, and that was the thing that Sean doesn't give out very many downs in the ups and downs reviews. And to give it a down specifically because it's a reuse, which I don't even see it really as that, but reusing stuff in Trek, as long as you do it better than it's been done before, I think it's totally okay. And I think that was fine here. But I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was weird. He's not very nitpicky on stuff like that. And I super disagreed. So I wanted to throw
The
that out
only
there.
the only thing I would agree with it on is because like Badgey isn't really like a central character, so their splitting doesn't have as much of an impact as it would if it was like Boimler or Mariner. Like if it was like a more central character, it would like make it flesh it out more. But because it's Badgey, it's like, well, you know, that's fine. It's fun, but it's not that deep.
Right. And that did happen to Boimler.
Yeah, I think the moment between Data and Lore was this incredibly charged emotional moment of catharsis. And I think this is, you know, Badgey going, I want to do bad things, but the rest of me is rebelling. Like, I think there's a grand landmass of difference here.
Yeah, I agree. It's similar, but like there's so much stuff that's similar. Star Trek is a thing that's got more than 800 episodes. You're gonna reuse something. As long as you can do it better, I think it's okay.
We're up to 900 now, apparently.
We hit 900.
With all the like extra bonus stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Like excluding the like very short treks. Yeah.
Because we haven't even quite gotten to, or we're just over 800 with live action, like full length live action. But if you add all the animated stuff now and
And you
like
better.
short treks and very short treks, it probably is 900. That wouldn't surprise me. So the follow-up question that Vanessa had to that is Badgey splitting into 3 an id, ego, super ego Freud thing? And I think you hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
there. I think it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But and the only thing is that it's a redemption arc and it's about his father and it's not everything about his mother and like Freud and the mother thing.
Yeah, I was going to
Obsessed
mention
with
that this
moms.
episode has a lot of, at least to me, vague Star Wars references. Like, I know that when Tendy's on the beach and she's talking about the sand, I know that it's a callback to another.
Of course, rough and irritating.
Yeah, but there was also a callback to a Lower Decks episode. But when she said it, I was like, that's a Star Wars. And then the whole thing about like my father and my son doing weird things that don't align. Like there were just all of these like subtle winks to Star Wars, at least in my opinion.
I agree. And like red light, blue light, Agnes, like red and blue
Right.
lightsabers.
Yeah, I even changed my colors to red, see? Because I'm an evil computer.
Yeah, I think like, evil Badgey is just supposed to be the id and, the most primal, most like impulse driven. But it was interesting to hear those 3 pieces sort of like begin to merge together because it's like, what's the end goal here? And I also think that's like a meta commentary on the show itself. Like, what is the point of the shenanigans if the goal isn't clear?
Now, do we think that this was in any way reminiscent of A Fistful of Datas?
Only in title. I would have liked, knowing, that the title's a riff on the sequel to A Fistful of Dollars. I would have liked to have seen it had a more Western vibe, and that didn't happen, so whatever. But also, I don't know the plot of that movie too well.
I had no idea that it was Clint Eastwood.
I remember it well enough that like it wasn't just Data that was taking on different personas. It was other members of the crew were taking on different personas, and Data being a murderous criminal fighting Worf was a really tense moment because we weren't sure if they were just going to kill each other, and he was trying to rescue his son. So there was like a father-son relationship. There was, the different personas. So those seem to be the only 2 through lines, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, like even if you take out the Western thing and look for like the emotional dynamics, it's not quite the same.
Right.
Yeah, I had no idea when I first watched this until I watched like What Did I Miss? That this was a take on Clint Eastwood. That not even this, but also A Fistful of Datas. That was like A Fistful of Dollars, and this was for a few dollars more. And there's your joke. So I mean, it's that tie. And yeah, I agree. It's like the father-son dynamic, which is what I was thinking here. Yeah. And obviously just Badgey being holodeck safety off the trope, and that's great.
Is Rutherford a good dad, do you think?
He's the dad that's trying way too late in the game, as he realizes in this episode. But hey, I mean, however it worked out, his creation ends up ascending to the next plane of reality. So,
He did something right.
So with that, are the conclusions of both of these plots just more anticlimaxes on the season? As in, there's no external input needed from our main characters to resolve the plots. They just kind of resolve themselves, even if they are resolved in a satisfying way.
It's almost as if we are an additional lower decker that's kind of just following them around, watching what's happening, rather than even them feeling like a cohesive unit. Even when they're split apart, they don't feel very cohesive. And it doesn't, there's this weird confluence where these guys are getting assignments that I don't think a lieutenant junior grade should get. I think it should be someone higher up the rank. But also that, like, it really does feel like this season they have very little effect, maybe on other planets and other societies, but not within the ship or even Starfleet itself. It looks like they're just witnesses to all of these things that are happening rather than being an active part. And if I'm not identifying with the main characters, then I'm not really invested in the show.
That's fair. Personally, I just wanted to see one of them be destroyed.
Yeah, it is
I
really
was leaning
weird
mostly
that, like,
towards Badgey.
we kind of knew that at some point we would get this confluence of the great AI characters, but they didn't even like all get together, and it was, I don't know if it's like the most clever Star Trek thing ever that these bad guys just redeem themselves, or if it's kind of boring and like bleh in the end.
I think the B plot was the least interesting part. And I do think that as far as like these machines, that it was sort of anticlimactic, that they realize that they have feelings for each other and go off into the sunset. It's really not that interesting. I mean, like, I there was no I thought that like the AI would have been connected to the mystery ship somehow, but that remains a mystery. I don't think that this mystery is compelling enough to drag out throughout the season. Like Picard, but I was like willing to sort of give it a pass because it's a cartoon and you can have cliffhangers, you can kind of have like chaotic elements and it's fine. But we've had like very little in terms of like reason to keep investing in it. That's the only like thing that I'm disappointed about. In addition to the B plot is like that they're not, the mystery ship and the AI are completely unrelated.
Can I ask a question about the mystery ship?
Please
Yes,
do.
please.
I know that I am not as well versed in the minutia of Star Trek as some of our other worthy panelists. What did the Bynars have anything to do with the Klingons or the Vulcans? Like, I keep looking for some sort of through line. You know me, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like, I'm looking for a through line that mats them all together.
Well,
Anyone
if the
have any
Bynars
ideas?
are Federation members, are they? Because if they're not, then that's the only thing they have in common, I would think.
Yeah, that was never clear. I mean, I don't think they are, because if they were Federation members, they probably wouldn't have needed to capture the Enterprise D.
Fair.
Yeah. Sorry, Vanessa. Looks like you're having some
Yeah, I don't know why. So
defocus problems.
And you're muted.
Anyway, yeah, well, you put that question in chat, and I've been trying to think about what the commonality is.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you know that I can bend the
I got
laws
nothing.
of physics with my conspiracy brain. And this one just won't snap for me. Like, up until now, I was like, okay, they're gonna, if they're kidnapping or killing or whatever, it's all the major races. I can follow that. But then to bring the Bynars out of nowhere, just kind of made it all fall apart for me, which maybe the point is to put a red herring in.
Right.
So that we're not tracking, because they want to keep it a mystery. But I'm also admittedly very tired of Star Trek and mystery boxes. Like, it's becoming sort of a thing now, and I don't mind it. Like, a lot of the ones that we've already had, I've been in very much favor for, but this one is like maybe a step too far, where I'm just like, just tell us already.
I'm actually good with it. This is kind of the thing I wanted from Discovery. I mean, they've always got this overarching plot that just takes up an entire season. And I'm like, just have some adventures on the side, man. Like, dip back into that when you need to, but don't make it, the central focus of every episode.
I mean, like I hope it doesn't turn out like Picard season 3, and we're just rushing to the end to get to this piece, and everything leading up to it is a complete red herring. It doesn't matter at all, because that was really frustrating. I am also tired of like the season needing like one big problem per season. It's not entirely necessary. I don't think it necessarily like made Strange New Worlds better to have the Gorn tease the whole time. So yeah, it's just like at this point, it's just not that interesting. I thought like in the Klingon episode, they mentioned like being kind of in cahoots with them. So maybe there's some sort of connection between.
Well, we saw the Ferengi say like, "Oh, they're on time." Yeah,
right, the Ferengi. So there may be like a sort of cahoots thing with the Ferengi. Maybe they're conspiring with whoever's in the ship to overtake the Federation, which would be a weird thing. Maybe that's why they're joining. That's the only thing that seems to make any sense with the connection between the Binars and whatever. Other than like the sort of Dominion thing where it's like they're just trying to create chaos. I have no idea.
Yeah, it was me, Scott. I muted you. You've got like some really weird background noise that's been going on. I can hear you fine when you talk, but yeah.
I literally
Like
got
if
nothing
there's a
wrong with it.
TV. It sounds like there's a TV in the other room or something. But it definitely stopped when I muted you. Yep.
Yeah, there's almost nobody else in this house though. Like my ex is downstairs.
Does anybody else hear it?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, if you just know, like when you don't talk, if you don't mind muting. Sorry, Scott. That's weird. How can there? I don't know where that's coming from. Then that's bizarre.
Ghosts.
All right. So do we have any new theories about the mystery ship now that like I think like half of the fan base was thinking that this was Badgey or the Agnes and Peanut Hamper, and nope, there's that theory gone. My theory about the whale people is technically still on the table, but now that we know that it's not that they're stealing ships, I don't think that makes sense here. So I think we got to think outside the box again.
My current conspiracy, which I actually don't believe very strongly, is that it has something to do.
That's just bad timing.
Uh-oh. Yeah, Del, you're
Something with it. Whereas this were live action, that I would actually believe it. But I think it might be.
Wow.
It's so secret we can't know.
Right.
No, we're like we kind of
We don't know because you're frozen and muted sometimes at the same time.
Yeah, that we were doing some buffer time there a second ago. So we didn't get all of your thought. If you want to try again, Del.
You're asking me to remember something I said 35 seconds ago.
I know.
I was talking about how I think this would have been a viable plot point for like a live action Star Trek, but the idea of shapeshifters stealing the ships feels a little bit too serious for Lower Decks.
Yeah. The only thing I can think, we've thrown around this idea before for Picard. I'm going with the conspiracy bugs from the claymation fuckers from TNG. It's them.
I hope so, because if it's Section 31, I'm gonna jump out of the window.
Oh, if it is, like, I'm done. I'm totally done.
I mean, at some point we've got to bring back William Boimler, but
yeah,
I don't feel like this is Section 31.
Although have they actually stolen a Starfleet ship? Was that in the first episode, or I don't remember.
What do you mean?
Hacklids. That would be an interesting Like Norman said, if it was LD Big Bad, then Packlets are brighter than they are. Well, like I
Yeah.
actually think they had some beef with Packlets, so that's actually not a bad theory, but I don't know if that's a Packlet ship.
I could see the Packlets stealing ships though, in order to get more technology.
Yeah, starting a new clump ship. This is how it begins.
Yeah, they tend to steal everything, not just like in the Samaritan snare, as Norman points out, but like that's just their MO to sort of amalgamate whatever technology they can get their hands on.
Yep. Do we think that we'll see these reformed AI again in future episodes?
I hope not. I feel like we've gotten to a resolution. I mean, other than I'm a big fan of Jeffrey Combs, and I want Jeffrey Combs to play every character all the time on Star Trek. But
sure.
I feel like the plot may be done.
I know. I kind of envision at least the two of them, Peanut Hamper and Agama, showing up kind of like a la the Stars at Night, and the end of the last season when all the Cali class ships showed up. I don't know how. I honestly don't know why, but yeah, that's about all I see it for.
I think the best Peanut Hamper episode was the owl one from last season, with the owl people with that love scene or whatever. So demented. But like I think we've kind of explored what we can do with this character at this point. And unless like there's some compelling reason, like if there's like a really good story that there's no other character that could do it better, I really don't see a purpose in bringing them back.
I really hope that if we touch on the Black Mountain again, that we see Badgey there.
Can I talk about Badgey ascending to the Great Koala for a moment?
Please do. Please do.
All right. I don't even know how to approach this idea, but I have an idea. I think it was a hallucination. I do not believe that he actually ascended to the Great Koala. I believe that there are many human experiences where you feel like you're at one with the universe, but can be explained by scientific phenomena. Now, y'all know when I say something like that with my tarot card on the wall, you know that I'm really jumping for things. But it felt like my first reaction was, this is some sort of glitch in his brain. He can't necessarily have like biochemical issues, but maybe this is like his programming's way of removing him from the situation or whatever. It didn't have the feeling that I would want from a moment of ascendancy for a villain.
Is this like, is this where Kess is in the Great Koala at this point?
I think that's a good theory.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The koala is Kess.
Oh.
Okay.
That could be the answer to the mystery ship this season.
Oh my
It's got
God.
one passenger. It's fucking Kess.
No.
That's my new theory. Forget the conspiracy bugs. It's Kess.
Oy vey. Really?
The weird noise is an echo.
Yeah, I figured that out. Do you have echo cancellation on, Scott?
Thought I did, but just turn the volume down some. How's that?
Well, so far,
Only so much I
okay.
can do from here. So
Yeah.
wait. Don't mind me. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, echo cancellation is on.
Okay. Is what it is.
So I guess it was just too loud.
But yeah, for someone who believes in this stuff, it was still hard for me to buy that, like, he became one with the universe, and then, unless we find out that the Great Koala is not a good character, but I feel like that's what they've been set up to be, and they turn blue, which, means that they're good. But there was just a part of me that just couldn't 100% buy it.
I think it really happened, but I dig that interpretation. That could kind of be a thing. It's weird that like an AI could ascend, but
I mean, he seemed to do all the same stuff that O'Connor did when he ascended.
Yeah, like there's even the like bird symbol first before you ascend, which was cool.
That too.
Yeah, so I want to go on a tangent because we have a ton of time and we have like one question for this episode left. Dell reminded me by saying tarot cards. Vanessa, you had said that you had figured out a potential reading of that thing from like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah. Oh, I think Scott's still echoing.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Sorry, Scott. I'll bring up that picture, but maybe
Yeah.
Dell like wants to chime in here
Oh.
at some point too.
I'm still hashing it out, but I can at least like identify which cards are which.
All right, so this was it episode 3 or 4?
I don't know where you're going, but if it's about tarot, I can help.
Thank you. Thank you.
That,
of course.
the tarot, the Bajoran tarot cards that we got turned over by Shax like 3 or 4 episodes ago. I'm looking for them. I can't remember which one it's in. Yeah, I don't remember. It's 5? Oh,
It's
yeah,
also
it was
in our
with the
chat.
empaths. There it is. There it is. I got it. Just gotta find the actual picture. There it is. Okay.
All right.
So we have the magician,
Yes.
that's the emissary, and it's like a very, very to the like true to the tarot.
Yeah, that's definitely a Rider-Waite, like a Rider-Waite interpretation of the magician. So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
I'll bring it back. Sorry.
And it's reversed.
Which means someone lacking self-control, someone who is not aware of their own emotional state. That would be the magician reversed.
Okay, so my only guess that I could make for the second card, which is like a ghost, is death.
It's the Borja, so that is the Bajoran ghost.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the only time it's ever mentioned in Trek is when Ro and Geordi were accidentally cloaked by an interphase generator. So that was a really good episode, by the way. So it shows like a transformation of an unexpected change.
What if I threw in there that it also reminds me heavily of Judgment?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Judgment has the same physical position with his arms open.
Okay.
And he's usually shown as being an angelic being, or at least an otherworldly being.
Thank you.
I don't know about how that fits with the title on the card, but that's what I saw too when I looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, like they're going for like graphic parallels with existing tarot. So if that's what it looks more like, I agree. But
here, if you hold on a minute, let me see if I can grab a deck real quick so I can guys show you what I'm talking about.
And thank you. And then the orbs are actually like the composition of the card is 10 of Pentacles. And again, it's very close to the Rider-Waite tarot, and in reversed, it can represent rocky foundations, insecurity, and instability in life. And
that sounds like Boimler.
Yeah, the Pentacle cards in general have to do, they're the earth symbol. A lot of times, especially readers who read for money, only represent it, because it's also called the suit of coins, that they only read it as a financial manner. But this is also about being able to celebrate your wealth. And so having it reversed could also mean along the lines of being rich and sad and lonely about it, or being poor but having a rich life. I've got my deck, I'm going to go through it in a second, but that would be my interpretation unless someone was asking about money. So here's my Rider-Waite Temperance. That's the first one that jumped up. So let me see if I can get that
Oh, that looks great. Temperance. Interesting. Okay.
That's
so
why I went in that direction, even though they don't have the cups, which is kind of the important part of it being temperance. I'm trying to hold still. But yeah, so that's the first one. Let me keep looking. Because unfortunately, they're out of order. Here, oh, 10 of Pentacles.
it has the same imagery on the
Yeah.
card. Yeah.
That's definitely the orbs one.
Right.
Yeah. What was the next one?
I think the next one's the moon.
Yeah, Durna, the Bajoran
Let me see
moon.
it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the moon.
That would make
Actually,
sense.
the card that's behind me right here with the sailing ship is another interpretation of the moon, but usually I think because Durna is Bajoran, the Bajoran moon, I think it just makes sense that it's the moon.
Yeah. So reversed, it's basically saying like you're ignoring your own intuition.
Yes. Or your intuition is
Okay.
off.
Right.
Too. If someone comes in with a question that's like, is it true that my husband is cheating on me? I can be like, well, your intuition is not doing so great.
And the next card I think is maybe the Page of Swords.
That's what I was thinking too. Let me see if I can.
The one that he has his finger on?
Yes.
The invasion card?
Yes. So when you're holding back from expressing your truth, especially in a public forum, you prefer to keep your thoughts and opinions privately or anonymously. So again, I think it ties with the moon card, sort of like this holding back of following intuition, either not following it, ignoring it, or having bad intuition and like having some sort of opinions, but keeping it to yourself. Like there's a sort of unrest that's not being addressed, which I think
have found every wands card but the damn page. Hold on. But yeah, the Page of Wands also, if someone's asking about people, pages tend to represent like teenagers and very young adults. And the page in particular, the Page of Swords would be a light-skinned, light-haired individual, but that's also written by Europeans, so take that for what it's worth.
All right.
Come on, where's the damn page? Keep going, but I'm looking for the Page of Swords.
That just leaves the Celestial Temple, right?
The Celestial Temple, I believe, is the Wheel of Fortune. And that's also reversed, but I can't.
I would guess that you're right.
Does that actually make
I
it
think that's
Jeopardy?
going to be their version of. Yeah, hold on. I'm still like trying to remember. I'm looking for the Page of Wands.
So
It's be my luck. I get to the end and then I realize I've already seen it.
So reversed, it means that luck has not been on your side, and
Yes.
that misfortunes have been following you. You've just sort of like, it's almost like you've walked under a ladder. Black cat crossed your path with how many crappy things in a row have been happening to you. So I think it's sort of like what I glean from this particular reading is that it's a kind of wake up call. Like you need to sort of like do some inner work and figure out what you really want, because it seems as if you're not really pursuing what you actually want to do. Like he seems Boimler is a very single-minded character. So that's what I glean from the reading. I can't speak for Del, obviously. So that's.
And if anyone's wondering, I'm at the level of professional tarot reader. I've been doing it for 25 years, so I kind of know, just so that everyone else knows what I'm talking about. I just can't seem to find the Page of Wands in my deck, but yeah.
I'm
pretty good. Yeah, it looks very closely, like I just can't illustrate it at the exact moment, but yeah. I don't know why. Maybe it's... Oh, there. Well, I have a different Page of Wands now that I found it, but there's my Page of Wands. Are we looking for Page of Swords, and that's why I'm looking at the wrong things?
No, it does bear similarity to this one, though.
Yeah.
That's why it was so difficult, because like trying to find analogs,
Yeah, it's really
analog to the thing, but like the graphics on them kind of helped, and the fact that it's Bajor's moon, and the Wheel of Fortune is kind of singular in its symbology, kind of helped. but my interpretation is that he's just kind of getting in his own way and he's not being honest with himself.
If
Yeah,
we
a lot
wanted
of
to
that
get super
described
deep,
Boiler.
if we wanted to get super duper deep too, so in a lot of divination, when you get to the end, which the world is the end of the major arcana, it usually means you have to look backward. So if we're talking about that one as being the world, it's about being aware of both the present, but also taking into consideration the past. That's sort of where I would go with it, unless someone was asking specifically about luck or about like, can I turn this around? What can I do to change things? Then I would go in a different direction. But yeah.
Yeah, Boimler definitely didn't ask for any of this. He was just humoring Shax, so
Right. Like
whatever your
there's
standard
always
interpretation.
like a
I'm trying
question.
to reverse the card so I can see it from his perspective.
Right. Because like that's how I read it, as though it was facing Shax, and I figured like this was sort of like a past, present, future reading in like what to do about those different stages of past, present, future. That's how I interpreted it because I'm not a tarot card professional, obviously, but I tried to look for like spreads, formations that are in sixes, and that's the only thing I could find.
I don't know if Lower Decks is this smart, but my guess would be that this was a 3-card reading and that he got the emissary and then one of the middle ones and then the celestial temple. And because the two on the outside, those cards that overlap are on top. And that is a very standard, do you need more information about this card thing to do?
Interesting. Okay.
So like if I lay out 3 cards and I give you, the 3 that are on the top here, except for Celestial Temple, like I would definitely put cards on top to tell you this is more details that you need to know.
That's really cool.
I just don't know if they would know that level of like, this is not Tarot 101. It's not the thing that comes with the book with the deck. So yeah.
I'm always in awe of the level of detail that they put into all of the art on Lower Decks. Like even if I'm not necessarily pulled into the plot, the level of detail, especially with these tarot cards, is just incredible.
Yeah, this was like a 2-second thing that if you don't like screen grab it, like I just did, and then we sit and analyze it, that you'd even really like be able to see what all these things are.
I probably didn't pick up on them because like I just looked at them and they're tarot cards, and I kind of moved on with my life. I didn't actually look and see what the reading was.
Well, it's not necessarily true, Julie, because Shax you saying Shax is also an ascended being because he has been through at least he's been through the Black Mountain. I guess he hasn't necessarily seen the Great Koala, but one would assume that those two things are mutually together.
Like how like afterlife in Bajoran culture is treated is a bit different from the koala thing. So I would assume that he was like in the Celestial Temple or something, but it was obviously not exactly that place because it was so horrific that he doesn't want to talk about it.
The Great Koala is a prophet. The Great Koala is a prophet.
So we're thinking that the Black Mountain is a mutual afterlife for all galactic religions, but there are multiple deities.
There are people who actually believe that in the real world. It's very similar to the Baha'i faith, where they believe basically the Abrahamic God is the same God that's worshipped by Muslims and Jews and Christians, as well as other religions. And they believe that you have to put forth effort during this life in order to reach that ascended state. Happen to know all this because my mom was Baha'i. The fact that their prophets are called Badgeys, which to this day amuses me. No offense to any Baha'i, but you can make fun of my religion all you want. But yeah, it does kind of mirror the Baha'i faith. The idea that like if you ascend to the God that you image in your own mind.
All right. So to pull this back to the episode that we have today, That was a great filler, and I love you and Vanessa interpreting those tarot cards.
Yes,
I
way to go.
really
I didn't even
appreciate
pick up
taking the
on
time
it.
for that.
I'm really glad you're here, Del, because like there was some strings I wasn't quite tying together. So thank you very much. But like I love that they did that. That's really cool that they put that much thought into like a 2-second bit.
Now I just wish they had actually made Bajoran tarot cards, because I looked at the TNG ones and I'm just not real wowed by the art. And I don't know who I would do. Like, I only buy, well, A, I don't buy decks, but because I follow the stupid tradition that you don't buy your own. But B, I don't know who I would do a reading for. Like, I have Gummy Bear Tarot that I use for like younger people or for like silly older people. I have the Housewife Tarot if someone snarky wants a reading. Like, and I just don't know, except for other Star Trek nerds, who I would pull that deck out for. So
I
that's
just-
I
why
want
I
that
haven't
lower
really
decks
pulled the
deck.
trigger
That's
yet.
awesome. I'm not into tarot, but I would buy
Yeah.
that if they marketed it.
I only use it for myself, really. That's it. Like I can't. I don't think I'm qualified to give insight to anybody else. So that's just for me. But like I enjoy the major arcana, but the rest of the cards are just sort of like just more like the item and that amount of item. That's it.
So, pulling it back to this episode, can somebody tell me why Bradward would let Agamus subjugate an entire planet in like, an hour? Because this is the part of the episode that just really brings it down for me, and I just don't get it. Help me get it.
That's a very good point. I mean, yeah, he did seem to think, Starfleet could come by and just take another hour to undo the damage, but it is a long way to go to get some information.
Yeah.
Maybe this was, I think Boimler sort of like said in a throwaway line, like it's not like Federation can't clean this up in an hour. So maybe he knew ahead of time that this was like, catastrophic in the present, but really it's not like that big a deal. But it's really, that's just wild optics to have as a Starfleet officer.
Yeah.
One thing I did like with that scene, though, was that like Agamus like fell out of the throne. He's like face down on the floor, and he's like, "Leave me alone."
Yeah, this
I
was
also
just,
think maybe it may be an extension of this recurring theme we have with Boimler about he always believes the good in people. Like even when he tries to be like, maybe this person is bad, he never really like sells himself on it. And so I feel like even though he came into this thing, like the first time he saw Agamus, he was like, all right, I'm done, I'm leaving, this is all bullshit. I think maybe this was just a little sign that Boimler was maybe falling for it. But I agree with Scott that this was like a huge way to show us a tiny character detail.
that doesn't trust his intuition or has bad intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got nothing else. Do you guys have anything else on this episode that you wanted to bring up or ask questions about?
So would you eat those tomatoes that they were growing? Who are they growing them for in the jail? Like they don't have any.
That's a good question.
So I wanted to bring this up, but I didn't know how. But now that you've opened the door, I'm running in. So I had some problems with the setup of the Daystrom Institute, being someone who has been institutionalized for mental health. First of all, no one has a breakthrough in group therapy. What you're doing in group therapy is trying not to say anything, because then you're the weirdo in a group of people who aren't saying anything. So I get that like they were trying to show that it was rehabilitative in some way, but not realistic. Also, no sports, because if you have some sort of psychopathy, you're going to push somebody or you're going to hit them in the head with the basketball. No sports. But
And also, they're machines. When are they going to be playing sports?
Yeah, it's true. I was thinking even if they put machines in a human environment and treated them like humans, like even that's not accurate to the way we treat people now, much less way in the future. I think there are some better ways of looking at institutionalization when it comes to people with mental illness, that this is almost so stereotypical, it's backward. That's how I felt about it.
Okay.
Like even One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest compared to this, like I guess they're trying to keep it light,
Well, yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, you know, very hard to believe. Maybe this is as evolved as they could get as far as like rehabilitating machines. Like they have a consciousness, so we have to address it. But you know, they sort of like get these bonus things that mentally ill people in institutions in the past would not have gotten. So maybe.
But I wanted to tie that back into the tomatoes, because what does happen a lot is that you make art that they will throw away, or you will work on a project that means nothing. I had a friend who, again, we can go into the politics of it forever, but we're not gonna, but worked at a car wash as part of their treatment. Like the car wash was owned by the institution. It just, so if I were going for a joke in all of this, I would have hooked them up to cardboard ports, because one of the things that happens a lot is you're not given anything that can't be crushed. So no pens, no silverware, you know, that sort of thing. So the idea of plugging them into some sort of like charging because their computer, like whatever, something that was made of a fake, like not the real material, that would have made me laugh. The tomatoes did make me laugh because they take mentally ill people out and make them pet horses and think they're going to get better that way. So growing tomatoes feels like that to me. But yeah, the whole scene, I kind of was just like, it's a funny show. Don't think too hard about it. It's a funny show. But then the tomatoes, I was like, that's real though.
I find it really interesting coming into the scene. There's like, they are playing sports, but the ball just like comes in from off screen and there's nobody or no machine in that area, even once the camera finishes panning. So it's just like, oh, he just threw this in here for fun. Ha ha. Good joke. Machines playing, but there's not even anybody there playing. But yeah.
I'm glad that they dealt with this in a far better way than Picard has dealt with mental illness as a topic. You know, that not that I'm looking to Lower Decks for like the best representation ever necessarily, but I'm glad that they didn't. They could have taken this in a very wrong direction very easily.
If you want to see and I don't know the name, but I'm sure one of you does. If you want to see a Star Trek episode that really depicts both the experience of being mentally ill and being institutionalized, it's the one where Riker's in the play, but then he's not in the play. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. That totally, when I watched that one, I thought, somebody else has been to the bin, you know?
Yep. All right. Well, let's.
We have a question. It's by Julian. Does anyone think that Badgey, this episode was like Boimler is split into two versions when Badgey followed his power journey and others stayed in Cerritos with the cast just like Boimler?
I hadn't thought about it like that. That's a good thought, Julie.
Yeah, that's a corollary I didn't make. So I think that's very interesting. And it would follow the Riker split too, in that one Riker went on to, you know, preclude himself from the relationship and become a commander, and the other one did not.
There's also like that split universe Picard where he's like the sort of timid officer that doesn't promote.
Oh, and Tapestry. Yeah.
So I thought, like, I don't know if it's Badgey, like different, like, oh, this version of Badgey is doing this and this version of Badgey doing this. I thought it was more like enemy within thing where it's like all parts of one person kind of thing.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move to our out of 10s. I'm going to give this one a 5.5. I thought it was really funny. I'll give the extra half a point beyond a 5 just for Jeffrey Combs because Jeffrey Combs. But it ends in anticlimaxes. I love the great koala moments, but like, man, it feels like again we're hitting anticlimaxes, and I've said that term too many times this season to not give this a high mark. So yeah, I'm at 5.5. Go ahead, Del.
I like villains. I like goofy villains. This was full of goofy villains, but I have to agree that like most of the plot lines were kind of circular and boring, and I was more invested in like the little moments than the thing overall. So I think I agree with Dustin. I'll give it a 5.5, and part of that is that gets bumped up for Jeffrey Combs.
Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit higher, but not by much, and give it a 7. Yes, both the plots were anticlimactic, but at least they were equally anticlimactic and equally entertaining, which is not something you can say about a few of the episodes in this season. And yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Combs is back. I kind of feel like there's more to the whole Agamus peanut hamper thing. Like they talk about being best friends, but I mean, we've seen other machines fall in love, so I wouldn't really be surprised. And you know, despite the fact that the mystery ship has been a thing that's been going through this entire damn season, I'm still interested to see how this one's going to play out for the rest of the season. So yeah, put me down for a 7.
I think it's like a 6. There were also little moments where that sort of added to the theory that Rutherford may have romantic feelings towards, the Orion, Tendy.
Tendy.
Yeah. Yes. There were like, he's really listening actively to sort of like, he sort of like internalized some of the things that Tendy said earlier in the episode. So he's like really taking her advice on how to sort of see his way out of problems. And I think that's something that you would do, not that friends don't do that for each other, but he was taking her advice and really running with it, which I think is something more. There's something else. Also, I just thought that there was a lot of really funny moments as well. But overall, I don't think it really pushed the development of the characters forward as much as I think the rest of the season has. So yeah.
I wanted to agree with Norman. I was going to bring it up, but I forgot to write it down. Is like, what happened to T'Lyn? Like, she was awesome, and then she disappeared.
We spent a lot of time on her for the first few episodes, to be fair.
But she's not even in the background now. Like, she's not one of the gang.
Right.
I thought she would be more like a regular character that we would see sort of like, gel with the rest of the lower deckers, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, she just doesn't chill out. Like, I mean, they spend their downtime like in the shuttle bay, just like chilling and doing like weird projects, and that's not her thing, I guess.
And no one made the joke about grapple and apple. Like, I just desperately wanted just someone to say it. Like, it was one of those things, like, what's going, like, you see, like, Agamus and Peanut Happer, that they're in love with each other, but they just won't say it. To me, that was grapple the apple. I was like, someone's got to say it.
Yeah, it was like a William Tell thing, or like, I kept thinking back to Tron, and that first time they, like, test out the little laser thing. It's like with an apple, and they digitize it. So that was pretty cool. But as to Julian saying here, did anyone else think that Logic E was doing a T'Lyn impression? I definitely got that it was a Vulcan general Vulcan impression, and it did feel like T'Lyn, but general Vulcan.
Speaking of William Tell, it also kind of reminded me of that story of William S. Burroughs accidentally shooting his wife because he was playing William Tell very high on drugs.
Okay.
So it's like there was that he was like aiming for something, but he like ended up pinning Tendy to the wall, which honestly is kind of dangerous and terrifying, and only survived because she was a cartoon. So
All right. If we don't have anything else on this episode, we're going to wrap it up. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and all my co-hosts for joining me today. This has been a fun Badgey-like time, and we'll see you all here next week. Same Trek time.